The UN Foundation discovered about 5 years ago that the ways we'd all been trying to go after poverty and trying to change the world for the lowest billion population was missing the simple fact that the lowest billion already were users of technology. There are more cell phones in use around the world than any other technology, and they're in places where you would least expect to see a cell phone. Maybe not everybody owns one, but certainly everybody has access in some way to one. And we began to realize that we should use the tools that were already in people's hands instead of trying to build medical clinics that were miles away, delivery systems that would take thousands and millions of dollars to try to build. And we could address many problems from health to safety to education if we would only think about using technology that was readily available. So we luckily formed a partnership with the Vodafone Foundation. I would say impacts for the Vodafone UN Foundation partnership have been in two big areas, health and disaster relief. And overall, we've just learned an awful lot about how technology ought to be used for development in every single area of development. We've done mobile health experiments, pilots in 22 countries in Africa. So these are situations where health workers are using mobile devices with special but open source technology on them for identifying where an outbreak of a disease is or a stock out of a drug. It's been very successful, and it's led to a much broader movement for mHealth, and we can explore that later. We also found that there was a great need for the technology to be better used in the cases of disasters. So often in a disaster, what happens is that the emergency relief workers arrive on the scene and have no way to communicate with each other because terrestrial communications have come down. They aren't on the same systems. It's chaos. And survivors often have no way to find their loved ones, report back to their friends and relatives overseas. So telecommunications and mobile technology was the obvious answer there. Well, if you can picture what it's like when a disaster hits and there's no communications in a situation where the terrestrial communications have gone down, the internet doesn't work, relief workers are pouring in from all locations. It's so critical to have communications about who's got what, where's the greatest need, where do we need to be bringing food, health, water, sanitation. Mobile communications has proven to be a tremendous tool. But we've learned a lot about when it doesn't work, how to better communicate among different kinds of workers, how to make sure everybody's using the same system, how to think about how the survivors can find loved ones and communicate with friends and relatives around the world. So all of those things started to come into play in Haiti. It was very encouraging, and we've now done a study with the UN Office of Coordinator of Humanitarian Affairs, the Harvard Humanitarian Service, and others, looking at what are the lessons learned. And we should be talking about this as a community because every disaster gives us new lessons, but every time we get another chance to see the telecommunications tools in practice, how the workers are learning to use them differently, and challenging ourselves to make the technology answer questions that we couldn't answer this time. The UN Foundation is committed to helping the United Nations reach its goals of poverty eradication, peace and prosperity around the world. And to do so, we think our best value is to build partnerships and provide platforms for individuals, corporations, foundations, organizations of all stripe to work with the UN to achieve those goals. So if you're interested in water or health or girls, empowerment of women, any issue that the UN is dealing with on a daily basis, we try to help build an opportunity through a campaign, an initiative, an alliance, a collaboration where individuals and groups can work together to support the UN and achieve these goals.